The Dodgers finally completed a sweep. Julio Urías looked halfway decent. Emmet Sheehan closed out the game. Dodgers offense did what they're supposed to do against a bad team. And we got updates on Clayton Kershaw and some of the other rotation. That's what's on tap. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And you can become a part of that exclusive Everydayers Club by listening every day. And one way to help yourself listening every day is to subscribe and get notified whenever we drop a new episode, which is every Monday through Friday. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio. I'm usually joined by co-host Jeff Snider, but I'll be doing this one on my own today. Jeff covered for me yesterday, so I'll be covering for him today. And Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have spent time covering the team, that have watched a lot of Dodger games in our life, and watched a lot of Dodger games during the season, obviously. And we're here to bring you what we think is the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue, the reasonable fans perspective on our boys in blue. We try to put things in perspective, and not too much needed of that today, but we're gonna do the smart fans perspective for sure today. And let's get right into it. So the Dodgers finally completed that sweep. They've won a bunch of the first two games of a series recently, but could never get that elusive third win. They got it. They did what they were supposed to do against a bad A's team. The A's are one of the worst team in baseball, and the Dodgers took advantage, got the 3 wins. Heading into a big next week or so, they got 4 with the Padres and 2 with the Diamondbacks. The Padres are playing better as of late. They're still probably not a threat for the division, but they are still trying to make the playoffs. And then you got the Diamondbacks, who have fallen off a little bit, but again, still a team that's close enough to the Dodgers. So big 6 games coming up. So it's good to not look ahead to that. Do what you needed to do against the A's. And it was Julio Urías started. And before the game, Dave Roberts had kind of mentioned that not to expect too much from Julio in terms of length. Basically, he hadn't thrown in. He pitched 9. It was 9 days in between starts. He didn't really throw in between starts because of the issue with his finger that he's been having. So Dave Roberts said it could be 3 innings, could be 5 innings. We don't know. Julio did end up giving him 5 innings. He was around 70 some pitches. So luckily he was efficient enough to get it going. And for Julio, the A's are not a great team. I think that was definitely a factor in the way he was able to go through those 5 innings. His velocity dropped even more, and I would imagine that's because of the finger. Maybe he can't get the grip that he wants to let loose. His velocity was down to 91.6 average on his fastball, which was 1.2 miles per hour slower than his season average. So he did ramp it up. He touched 94 at one point in the 5th inning. So maybe he did get stronger as the game going on. Maybe the finger felt a little bit better. But either way, the velocity is still not there. He did use a lot more of his slurve. His slurve did have some good movement last night. That's something that he's been struggling with this year in terms of the movement. The movement's kind of been there, but not as much as last night. And he was able to command it a little bit better. He actually made pitching ninja a couple times last night, which is something he hasn't really done so far this season. So it was a fine start for Julio in terms of he's not 100%, and he was able to give the Dodgers what they needed. But Dave Roberts before the game kind of mentioned that, he understands it's critical for Julio to kind of figure things out because the Dodgers are going to need him. And yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to, is that he needs to get healthy. He needs to figure it out because the Dodgers are going to need him the rest of the way. they can probably get by in the regular season, without him being the Julio that we know and love. But they definitely won't make it far into October, or they'll make it way more difficult on themselves in October if he doesn't come back to the Julio that we remember from the last couple of years. And again, he's still in his free agent, year, his walk year. So for himself, he obviously wants to figure things out and pitch a lot better. So after Julio, Emmet Sheehan came in and he pitched the rest of the game. So he got a 4 inning save. So I'm sure Eric Stephen was very happy about that because he's a big advocate for the 3 inning save. He got a 4 inning save this time. Dave Roberts didn't really mention it before the game that Sheehan was going to kind of piggyback Julio. But I think this makes the decision for Ryan Yarbrough, who they haven't really said what he was going to do yet. I think that kind of solidifies that Ryan Yarbrough will be pitching in some capacity on Saturday when Emmet Sheehan was supposed to start. I would imagine, this is just my inclination, that Sheehan's going to get sent down either before Friday, like they're going to send Sheehan down, bring up an extra arm for Friday's game, and then send down that arm and bring up Ryan Yarbrough to pitch Saturday, or they'll just wait till Saturday to bring up Yarbrough and send Sheehan down. Dave Roberts had mentioned Sheehan as an option out of the pen. I don't think that's what they're going to do right now, especially the fact that he threw 4 innings. So I think he's going to get sent down. I would imagine he's going to, do some 4 or 5 inning stints in the minor leagues to kind of keep his innings in check. And then he'll come back if and when the Dodgers need him. Yarbrough will come up. I would expect him to start on Saturday. I don't, just based on the fact that he started the year as kind of a reliever or someone with an opener. He's started the last 7 times that he's pitched there with the Royals. So I would imagine he's going to get the start on Saturday. But again, maybe they'll try out an opener or something if they feel they need to. Yarbrough doesn't, like we mentioned, he doesn't throw hard. He doesn't strike out too many. He's really good at getting soft contact. So, and he's obviously a guy that can give some length. He's gone 7, 6, and 5 2/3 his last 3 starts. So, I look forward to seeing what he can do. Obviously, he's not the world beater that we wanted at the deadline, but he is somebody that can benefit, or that can, Tyler Anderson is a soft tosser that the Dodgers were able to extract a lot of value from last year. I don't think Anderson even throws harder than Yarbrough does, but there's some benefits to being able to throw a lot of a mix of pitches. He mixes 4 pitches in, throws them pretty much almost equally across the board. I'm excited to see what he can do. On offense, the Dodgers got some contributions from guys they've been getting contributions from lately. We saw Miguel Rojas came up with the first 2 RBIs of the day. He had a couple hits there in the bottom of the lineup. Kiki had a couple hits. Chris Taylor had a couple hits. Ahmad Rosario had a couple RBI. Obviously Freddie Freeman, who we're going to talk about later, he came up big. Will Smith had 1 hit, but it was an RBI single. He didn't end up scoring a run as well. Still not looking quite like the Will Smith that we're used to. So hopefully he gets that figured out. Max Muncy did come out of the game early after getting hit by a pitch on his wrist. X-rays were negative. Dave Roberts said he'll be day to day. It's always hard to take what Dave Roberts says at face value. And, it's not always, if Max had any swelling or anything, that could reveal itself later on that, maybe he might miss more than a couple days, whatever the case is. But hopefully he's good, he's healthy. But again, a solid sweep by the Dodgers. You can only play who's on your schedule. The schedule showed the A's. The Dodgers took advantage and won all 3 games. Now they head into a critical week. So, what are we going to see from the bullpen, or from the rotation and or bullpen coming into this week? Where's Clayton Kershaw going to come back? We got some of those answers, not in absolutes, but nothing's ever in absolutes in this world. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors because they have eBay Guaranteed Fit. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Not the second time around, the first time around. So just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. So if the part does not fit, no harm, no foul other than time lost because you get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. And if you are not making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, I would highly encourage it. We're here for you every Monday through Friday. You can listen to us on your way to work or at home or at the gym. I know there's people that have told us they listen to us at the gym. There's people that have told us they listen to us at work. Some people listen to us when they get a break or whatever the case is. We're here for you 30 minutes a day, every Monday through Friday. So make sure to become a part of the everydayers and listen every day. And remember, if you can't watch the Dodger game, but you want to be involved, you can always listen with SiriusXM or the SXM app. All you have to do is search Dodgers, and you can listen to the home broadcast for any Dodger game. Like I mentioned, big 4-game series coming up with the Padres. You're not able to watch this weekend, but you want to listen SiriusXM or the SXM app and search Dodgers. So before the game, we got some updates on the starting rotation, namely Clayton Kershaw. We did get an update on Walker Buehler, but the update was just that he's going to throw a bullpen in San Diego on Friday, and then after that, he will he'll go to Arizona with the team, and then he'll stay there, kind of keep working. Dave Roberts said he's close to maybe a rehab assignment, which would put him on track for a September return, like Walker Buehler's been saying. So again, we don't put too much stock into it. I wouldn't count on Walker Buehler to be a savior or anything like that. But he's progressing well. He's throwing bullpens. Everything looks to be pointing in the right direction. So it would be exciting if he can find his way back and if he's throwing the way he's been throwing. Obviously, we know he's think the last time he talked about it, he said he's ramped up to like mid 90s, which is or low to mid 90s, which is exciting because he's getting that velocity back. And I don't know what the plan would be if he does come back. Dave Roberts didn't really speak to that yet, but any time you can get Walker Buehler contributing, that's an ideal situation. Like I talked about in the last segment, Emmet Sheehan, who was scheduled to throw Saturday, threw last night 4 innings. So I think he's going to go down to the minor leagues for a little bit. And like I mentioned, Ryan Yarbrough will come up. I don't see a reason for him not to be at least a bulk innings guy, if not the starter on Saturday, and probably step into the rotation. I already said Michael Grove was going to go into more of a bullpen role. Maybe that bullpen, maybe Michael Grove and Yarbrough are going to piggyback on Saturday. That remains to be seen, but that's kind of solidified. But with Clayton Kershaw, who's been out for a while now, we all know he threw a simulated game on Thursday with some up and down, faced some hitters. Dave Roberts said he threw his full pitch repertoire, that he looked good, that, the mix was there. He said fastball, slider looked good. Curveball wasn't quite as sharp, but he was able to, go up and down 4 times, basically simulated 4 innings. He said threw around 60 pitches. They're going to see how he feels. He's going to throw a bullpen over the weekend in San Diego. And if everything goes right, then Clayton Kershaw would likely be activated in Arizona for one of those games. So we shall see how that goes. I guess he didn't say Arizona specifically. He said next week, but Arizona is on the schedule next week, or unless they wait till when the Dodgers come back home for a big home 10-game homestand. So the one thing that was not as, and I don't, maybe there should have been more follow-up questions to it. Dave Roberts was asked about the level of confidence in Kershaw's shoulder, like is the injury a thing of the past. He said, quote, I think we're at the stage where it's not perfect, and Clayton certainly could speak more to it, but it's to a place where we feel he can pitch in a major league game. He added, I think there has to be some buildup, but he's going to find a way. I understand he doesn't have pain, which is important, but he's not perfect. But he's still Clayton, and he still wants to get out there and help win baseball games. This is where it's interesting because, like, if he doesn't have pain, what is the issue then? Like, is it recovery? Like, is it recovery where he's slow to recover? Is it that maybe not pain, but he doesn't feel like normal? It's concerning in the sense only because we've seen things like this in the recent, like last year with Walker Buehler. We were expecting him to come back in the second half, and then all of a sudden he's getting Tommy John surgery. And with Dustin May, he got the PRP injection, which was tough. He didn't get Tommy John, but we were kind of counting on him to come back. He never ended up coming back, and it's just odd this way because he doesn't have pain, but they're saying that he's not perfect, but I think one of the other quotes was like, he can throw in a major league game. It's not like perfect, but he can, something like that Robert said before the game. And I wonder if it's like recovery based. Is it gonna affect him in, like, can he not throw more than a certain amount of pitch it? Like, I don't know. Obviously, if Kershaw speaks, or either if Kershaw speaks over the weekend, or Robert speaks more to it, or once they decide to bring him back, then we might have more information. But to have this kind of cloud of, well, he's not perfect, he's not 100%, but he can throw in a major league game, he can help us out. It just sounds weird when Clayton Kershaw the whole time hasn't had pain. And from what we know, they haven't done more MRIs or scans or anything. So, if it's just a matter of, we did another scan, the inflammation's still there, but he doesn't have pain, so we're going to move forward. That might be the case of what it is. But we'll just have to wait and see and hope. Like, with Kershaw specifically, it's one of those where if holding him out another month would more guarantee or closer to guarantee that he'd be fine throughout the rest of the season, all of September and into October, I'd feel comfortable doing that at this point, just based on the fact that that's more beneficial than having him out there for August and potentially not being there later on in the year because something happens. So obviously, I believe that they're looking out for the best interest of the team, and they wouldn't throw him out there if he was going to, somehow jeopardize the rest of the season. But it's just, the weird language that's been used is a little bit concerning, just in the fact of we don't know. But again, they don't have to reveal everything to us. We don't have to know everything as fans, as media, as whatever. But we'll see what happens. Other than that, the Dodgers will kind of have that rotation filled now. They'll got Bobby Miller on Friday, assuming Yarbrough on Saturday, Lance Lynn on Sunday. You got Gonsolin and you got Julio. Like you would imagine Kershaw would slip into the Arizona games. If not, then definitely when they come back home that weekend, I think against the Rockies, they got a 4-game series. Maybe they want a soft landing spot at home. Kershaw hasn't always had the greatest success in Arizona, so we shall see. But the rotation's rounding into form. That's going to be a good test this weekend against the Padres, who have been better as of late and who still have offensive firepower for sure. So we'll see what this rotation can do. Freddie Freeman has been on an absolute tear. Freddie Freeman is making that MVP case stronger. He is starting to gain, depending how you feel. Some people feel gaining, some people feel he's almost equal to Ronald Acuña in the National League for that MVP race. So let's talk about Freddie Freeman. That's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Become an everydayer by listening every single day or as close to every single day as you can. Remember, you can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers, and you can subscribe and be notified whenever we have a new episode up. Remember also that if you want to listen to the home broadcast for any Dodger game, you can do it with SiriusXM or the SXM app. All you got to do is search Dodgers, and you can listen to that home broadcast for any game you're not able to watch. All right, let's finish up with some Freddie Freeman talk. Freddie Freeman is on an absolute tear right now. Since July 17th, he's hitting nearly 500, if not 500 exactly. He has passed Ronald Acuña and everybody else, and is the OPS leader in the National League. He's hit 40. He's at 40 doubles on the season now. He's up to 22 home runs. He's got 14 stolen bases. He is since in the last 30 games, he's hitting 400 with an OPS over 1100. In the last 15 games, he's hitting 500 with an OPS over 1400. And in the last week, he's hitting 517 with an OPS over 1200. So he's been on an absolute tear. Like I mentioned, he's now the league leader in OPS. He's in the top 5 for RBIs. He's hitting 341 on the season. Like there is just so much that he's doing that is starting to. We talked about, I think last week, one of the questions in the mailbag episode was, you know, basically, can Freddie or Mookie catch Acuna in the MVP? And we kind of said that, if Acuna got hurt, then that would be one way to open the door. If Acuna struggled, obviously that's another way to open the door. But honestly, Freddie Freeman and Acuna, I mean, the main discrepancy comes now in stolen bases, because in everything else, Freddie's right there. They all kind of alternate. Like runs scored, Freddie 94, Acuna 97. Hits, Freddie 146, Acuna 141. Doubles, Freddie 40, Acuna 27. Homers, Freddie 22, Acuna 25. RBI, Freddie 76, Acuna 64. Stolen bases is the biggest discrepancy, 14 for Freddie, 51 for Acuna. Freddie's hitting 341, Acuna's hitting 335. OPS 1.016 for Freddie, 1.002 for Acuna. So they are, right there in most of those things other than stolen bases. And I don't, obviously stolen bases are valuable, especially like if, between Freddie and Acuna, everything's so close that you start to look for, okay, well, what guys, benefiting where. In terms of WAR, in terms of Fangraphs WAR, Ronald Acuña is worth 5.8, Freddie Freeman's worth 5.5, so they're really close there. And obviously, in WRC plus, Freddie's actually up 169 to 168. On defense, Freddie usually provides better defense. Acuna does have a few. He's had a few outfield assists. They're both, based on the numbers, they're both having down defensive years, but that they're still, generally, it's hard to decide, what kind of defensive metrics you want to look at. That, you can look. I think like when we look for Ahmed Rosario's defensive metrics, he was in the negative on every defensive metric you could find. So that one was like, okay, well, yeah, he's probably hasn't been good defensively, no matter which way you look at it. Whereas, in some of these other defensive metrics, guys will be good in one, they'll be good in one sense and not good in the other. Freddie Freeman specifically, you go to advanced fielding. Um, he's actually worth, -3 DRS this season. His UZR is down from UZR over 150s down or up from he's having a better defensive year this year actually compared to last year by UZR. But by DRS, he's having a worse year. So, I don't know. I don't think any of them are going to win because of their defensive prowess, is what I'm saying. It's going to come down to, offensive. And I think where Freddie can win is by staying this consistent and hoping that Acuña slips a little. And if Freddie's winning in almost all categories other than stolen bases, I think Freddie has a case for, MVP. The other part of this is like the Dodgers need to win the division for sure in order for him because the Braves are so far ahead in their division that they're going to win it probably pretty easily. The Dodgers are close enough to the Braves that they could make a run potentially for the top spot in the National League. It would take not a collapse from the Braves, but it would take some struggles from the Braves for sure in order for the Dodgers to kind of catch them, or the Dodgers catch a super hot streak, which they could do, but realistically they're probably going to play around the same they've played the entire year. So, but again, the question for it before was, okay, is Freddie and Mookie going to finish 2 and 3 type of deal? Where now it's like, is Freddie going to finish 1? And like you heard all the stats, you heard all the numbers. He's right there with Acuña and everything other than stolen bases. And the thing is, like, Freddie could get to 20, maybe not 25. He'd really have to start upping this thing, but he can get to 20 stolen bases. And 20 stolen bases is no joke for a guy in Freddie's stature, in terms of like, he's not a stolen base guy, but he can be, I guess. He can steal a base for you. So it's a lot closer than it was before. I don't know if I could say Freddie's caught him yet, but he's definitely close to catching him. And that's a lot different than we could say the other day. So shout out to Freddie. I mean, if he hits 500 the rest of the way, and ups and stays over 350 batting, 360 maybe, obviously that would definitely keep him up there and probably win it. But he's hit 400 for a month, 500 for 2 weeks or so, a little over 2 weeks. He's gonna catch a cold streak eventually, but so is Acuña. So I think he's caught him in the sense where they're battling the rest of the season for that MVP, and that'd be cool for the Dodgers. Freddie's there. Mookie's right behind them, but he'd really have to catch a hot streak to kind of catch him. He doesn't have the average that Acuña and Freddie has. He's got the power. If he caught a hot streak and hit like 45 home runs or so, then maybe he could get his way in there. But regardless, we're blessed to see Freddie play in the Dodger uniform, and Mookie Betts for that matter. And it's just exciting to see these guys put it all together. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to become an everydayer by listening every day or close to every day as you can. And that's what we're here for. We're here for you every Monday through Friday, bringing you what we think is a smart fan's perspective on our boys in blue. Remember, wherever you get podcasts, YouTube, subscribe, do all that stuff. You can leave comments on YouTube. Jeff loves reading comments. You can always get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, via voicemail text at 323-863-LOCK. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm on Twitter at Vincents91. You can get a hold of us on there. And you can listen to the Dodgers home broadcast on SiriusXM or the SXM app if you search Dodgers. That's everything you need to know. Thank you for listening. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. We're free every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car or on your couch. Tell your smart device play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.